You're watching Taste the Victory. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm here today with Martin, who just won the DC-1 Grand Prix at the end of October for the new BT10 format. Martin won with Armor's GX, which is probably one of the most unique lists we've seen top in a while. Mad congratulations to him for such an amazing finish. Martin, you want to go ahead and give yourself a small introduction and go over your list?
No, thank you for the intro. I played Armor at yesterday's BT10 event. I think everyone's saying, this is the first BT10 event, but I think, as a fun fact, there's actually a Carta Magica TCG Plus event last week. It was a lot smaller, but it was BT10, so day one, and I actually had won that event as well with Armor with the same list. So I kind of had a stress test that this deck was playable. I did win on Breakers though. I said I don't think the deck is crazy good, but it's definitely I recommend people to at least give it a shot. So start with eggs. So you play 4 Upamon, really standard, but the card is irreplaceable in this format. Against so many decks are hard playing stuff. Memory Stoppers, Jakuris, Solarmon, Sisters, Cross. So you always seem to draw cards off Upamon. To the point where I think there's an argument to just play the 4 eggs.
Okay.
The 5th egg is really for grindy matchups like SecCon, which I did actually face that day. DemiV. So this card, I am only playing this card because I think the artwork is far superior to the other eggs.
Yeah.
But I think realistically, if you want to play the optimal egg, I think it's probably the new BT10 egg, the one that draws if your opponent has two or more Digimon, I believe. The only jamming card I have in this deck is Jamming V, but it does matter. It does come up, and it never felt like it lost me a game. So card is good. I have no complaints with it. Art is also really cute. Going into the rookies now, I play 14 rookies. I play the 4 Jamming Vs. Card is, I think, a must in Armor. I think in like decks like Imperial, you don't need 4 of, but being able to swing and then restain with Armors is so much damage, a lot of pressure that it pushes by itself, and then the DemiV interaction. We have the 4 BT8 Veemons. So this card is also, I think, probably the best searcher in the deck. It finds not only 2-colored Digimon, but 2-colored cards that are blue. So it finds your Davis and Kens, and also things like Megadeth, which matters a lot, being able to have the option to search for that. It also means it like almost never misses. And then we have the 4 EX1 Veemons. I think this in different builds can be adjusted, but personally, because I play a lot of unsuspend cards in this deck, this generates a lot of value. And then the last 2 Veemons are the starter 8, the All Force Veemons. I think you could play All Force. I don't. It's just really here to draw cards. It was really a meta consideration that I thought it would be hard playing more cards this format, and it's true to a degree. Honestly, I think these could be changed with any Veemon. It didn't feel like it made or break the deck. So these are probably the only ones I'm still undecided on. Going into the level 4s now, we have pretty standard armor suite here. We got 4 Magnas. This is a one of the best armors because it can go with the Magna X. I still feel like the actual best armor is Lighdramon because it controls the game, but also it is because it's blue-green, so it has the broken interaction with Davis and Kent, but just gaining you memory, but also is a DNA target, which I'll touch on a bit. And then 3 Flamedramon. It could be 4. I just honestly didn't feel like I ever needed 1 more armor, so I'm happy with just the 11. And then the 1 Lobomon to round up level 4s. You do play Tamer, so it's just a way to end the game. Going to level 5, so I actually do play a few. Chimera is pretty standard in armor list. It's a kind of mass board wipe. It's able to get over a lot of bodies. It's good. It pushes damage. But honestly, the level 5 I'm more happy about playing, and I'm glad I play, is Paildramon. So this gets a lot of I usually get a lot of questions about this card, and honestly, it sounds bad, but when you play this card, you have to pretend it has a line that says jamming, because it will make a huge difference. Being able to push extra 2 damage, just being able to play for the win. The DNA happens. It does come often with Lighdramon, but you're happy to evolve just naturally as well. In terms of the Megas, we got 4 Magna X. So this is the card that makes this deck playable this format. It honestly so good against Crossheart, so good against low to the ground decks like D Brigade. I think I played it 4 times against 1 D Brigade player, so in 1 match. So card is really good. I think with this card as well, I can see people dropping it to 3 because the deck does draw naturally enough. But I just wanted to make sure I saw at least 1 every game. I'm happy seeing 4, honestly. So yeah, card is really good. It does something that I think is inherently broken in that it blocks even when it's getting like frozen by effects. So yeah, it's able to make your good matchups better and your bad matchups playable. Kind of in line with that, I'll move to the options actually. So I play 2 Awakening and the Golden Knight. And I think you do max on Magna X if you're playing 2 of these, just because you want more targets for this. The security effect almost feels more relevant than the actual effect sometimes. Just being able to recur your Magna X's. I'll let you play the grind game. You could be playing up to really 6 Magna X's in a game, right? If you're able to find them with these 2 in security, if it happens. Other options, 3 Mega Death. I mean, this card is always like, people dread insecurity. Always, it's gonna save you. It's gonna save your ass, more often than not. And then also, it's just really cost efficient as well. So the card's really good. Blue Memory Boost. So this could be Hammer Spark, and I think it's a personal preference. For me, I personally have opened a lot of hands with no rookies, and so if you open a hand with no rookies in armor, you're going to cry. So just having a hand with no rookies and a Memory Boost versus a hand with no rookies and a Hammer Spark is very different. And so that's why this is here. So they're almost like pseudo rookies, 15 and 16. In terms of tamers, 2 Davis. Could see this being 1. Card is good. It's a memory tamer, but you never really want to see the second. And then 4 Davis and Ken. I think this is one of the best cards in the deck. One of them. So Davis and Ken, again, really, really good interactions with Lighdramon, just being able to inevitably gain 2 memory. And it represents a damage by itself by being suspend your bodies. So yeah, this is a really flexible card. It lets you also play kind of the combo game as well. And then the wrap up the deck, we have 2 Jesmon GX. So I got a lot of questions about this card. And honestly, I was kind of undecided on how I felt about this card for a while as well. I think the biggest thing about this card is that it's really hard to play around because a lot of people don't expect this card. But also, I'm not a fan of Fire Rocket, but I think this card is really flexible in what it does. And it fills a Fire Rocket row. So often you'll have an armor, let's say a Magna. You go into a Magna X. You swing. And this actually happened during one of my games. You swing, you do 1 check, sure. You can now go into just GX. If you have it, you put another Magna under here, and this is now checking for 4 extra checks on unsuspend. So it's not just a Blitz Omni. I think this pushes a lot of damage, and there's a lot of games where you're able to push 5, 6 more damage just because of this card. Yep, and then the last 2 cards are DeathX. So this initially was just because I mostly tested against Crossheart, and decks also suffered against this card. But the more I play it, the more I realize, and this is my, I guess, TLDR, but this is the best card in the deck. Your game plan, unironically, sometimes is to just stall with your deck until you see this card, because this card will win you the game when you play for 0 and is just ungodly amounts of broken. I think it shores up so many of your matchups. Of course, there's the Crossheart, but even things like SecCon, it matters a lot when the games go long because it's just so valuable and it has to be removed. But yeah, I think DeathX is a real important part of the format and card that people should respect as the format goes on.
So, do you want to talk about the matchups that you faced at that day now? I believe, how many rounds was this? Like 7 or 8?
I believe it was 8 rounds. Off the top of my head here, I faced against 2 Crosshearts, 2 Alphamons, 1 Jess, 1 Security Control, 1 D Brigade, and 1 Black Warg. I will say, I definitely do think this deck has bad matchups. I do think Metal Gar, for one example, is pretty unfavored for armor. Not unwinnable, but unfavored. Just in the amount they bounce. So I'm glad I dodged that. But in almost every one of the matchups I played today, DeathX mattered in that game. Either just wiping their board or just honestly just bringing the game to a point where DeathX was for 0 and then it was clocking. Even if it didn't wipe their board, is just it felt so immensely unfair. Other than that, though, the one matchup I'm really surprised I didn't fully win it. Actually, I drew it because we just didn't even get the game 3 was Security Control. I do think that matchup is very, very hard for armor. But honestly, game 1 they saw very few good options in security.
So you said Melga's a really bad matchup for this deck. Out of the ones that you saw that day, would you say Security Control is the hardest, or was
I
there
would say
another hard
Security
one?
Control is the only matchup I went into thinking. Like when I saw them flip the egg, it was like
Oh,
Upamon, yellow Upamon into
yeah,
Salamon. I immediately thought, okay, I'm
stressful.
not going to win this matchup.
Yeah.
I'm actually like, I think they must have been really good. I've never played them before, but I think they must have been really good because I noticed they didn't have any draws,
Mhm.
and this was like maybe round 7 already. So I
Yeah.
didn't. So to not draw, it was Security Control was quite impressive. So
Yeah,
and I
they
guess
must
I
have
was
known
their
what they were
first
doing.
draw.
For sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly. So I don't think their game plan was strictly to stall. It was definitely they were winning games.
Hmm.
So other than that, though, I wouldn't say any matchups. Like I would say the Jess matchup is armor favored,
Okay.
because you can pressure fast enough while Magna X can prevent you from losing the turn they go into the stack.
Yeah.
D Brigade is very armor favored, I believe, with both Magna X and Death X. That's kind of the name of the deck, right? If you go Death X and combine with Magna X, as long as you have those two, you can win most matchups. Crossheart, for the same reason. Black Warg, I do think is slightly unfavored, but in game 3, they just couldn't find the pieces. They kept playing rookies to search, and then I played a Death X, and then their board was gone.
Yeah.
Like it keeps coming back to the same thing, which sounds bad, and maybe not. We know what all the armor players are hoping to hear, but it is unfortunately, that is kind of the the current format.
For sure.
And then the alpha matchup, I think, is actually one that I think is very difficult if you're not unfamiliar with the matchup. I played a lot against my play group who played a lot of alpha, and I think they're really, really good on alpha.
Hmm.
And I think you have to be extremely respectful of how many checks you're doing early on, because if you hit, memory boost, cool boys, and whatever their tamers are, you're going to lose the game early if you hit too many of them.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
managing aggression is super important in that matchup, and just recognizing when they have an opportunity to kill, and then sometimes it really just does come down to you need to have hope on like a security option in effect, or know that they might hit two or three tamers and play for the crackback.
Yeah.
So I think for the alpha matchup, it just comes down to a lot of practice.
Mhm.
I honestly wouldn't say it's either or favored. I
Mhm.
think it's pretty even, and I think
Mhm.
it's just really dependent on which player is more, I guess, has more testing in that matchup.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it sounds like. Cool. Thank you for all that insight. That was like really interesting look into the deck and its matchups. Very helpful. So after this tournament and now knowing about the upcoming ban list, is there any changes you would make to this list? Do you think it becomes better with the upcoming
I
ban
think
list?
it's interesting because the ban list comes with EX3, and I think EX3 is a significantly different format. With
Hmm.
EX2, things didn't really change all that much. You've got like things like Gallon, Beelzemon,
Yeah.
a few things here and there. But I do think EX3 actually introduces a lot of tier 1 decks or tier 0 decks even. Bloom Lord is one I'm very hesitant to play this deck into,
Yeah.
because I think Bloom Lord will destroy this deck. But I think at the end of the day, it's, you know, with any card game, there's always like, a healthy card game, you're not going to be able to tech for every matchup.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I think there's a consideration if people are playing less around Crossheart because they nerfed the deck into out of existence, to actually bump up Death X more, or sorry, because people would not respect the card.
Yeah.
Um, but otherwise, I think Giga Death as well is another option I think a lot of people should consider,
Hmm.
because it's able to out wide boards, like Bloom Lord, and just send everything to the bottom.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Well, that was really great to hear all that about the deck. Congratulations again on your win, Martin. That was awesome and impressive. And this list looks really great. It makes a lot of sense to me. Sounds like Death X is a huge MVP of the deck.
Yeah,
Well, that's great.
Death X and Armor.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to say before we go out? Any shout out you need to give out?
Yeah. I'm just gonna shout out, I guess my testing group. This is their Discord name, so they're Spursy and From the Future.
Hmm.
They're actually the guys who got me into the game, and they actually are both Bandai winners as well. They've all won like premium level events
Hmm.
at like regionals or things
Awesome.
like DC-1.
Yeah.
I consider them both better than me, and I appreciate their time testing and bouncing my bad ideas off of them. I think they really helped me prepare for this event.
Hear that? Good testing group is always very helpful. All right. Well, thank you so much. Hope to see you again sometime, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Take care.